They are too young to know better. That is what you keep telling yourself. That is the mantra you have been repeating in the shower, in the car, in the mirror while you apply the moisturizer that costs too much and works too little in the quiet seconds before your alarm reminds you that the world expects you to be competent again. They are too young, too green, too early in the timeline to understand what commitment actually costs in the wild, untamed economy of adult love. You have the receipts, you have the spreadsheet, you have the failed relationships and the canceled engagements and the slow grinding erosion of optimism into something you call realism, but is actually just scar tissue that learned how to speak in complete sentences. You know the interest rates on disappointment. You have done the math, and here they come with their clear eyes and their unbroken belief that love is supposed to be permanent, asking you for something you stopped believing existed around the same time they were learning to parallel park. You are Virgo. You do not do impulsive. You do not do uncalculated. You have looked at the situation from every angle, rotated it under the light, checked it for structural integrity, and concluded that it cannot possibly hold the weight of what they are proposing. They want a committed relationship with you, not a situationship, not a trial period, not a let's see where this goes with the unspoken understanding that where it goes is nowhere in particular. They want the whole, heavy, terrifying architecture of commitment. They want keys and calendars and introductions to parents whose generational confusion will require its own spreadsheet. They want to build something with you, brick by brick, in broad daylight, with witnesses. And the part of you that is still capable of being moved is so profoundly shaken by this offer that you have spent the last several weeks treating it like a suspicious package left on your doorstep. You have not opened it. You have circled it. You have called in the dogs of your own doubt to sniff it for explosives. But the package is not ticking. It is humming. And the hum is getting louder. The first time you registered them as a person rather than a category, they were doing something that should have been unremarkable. They were organizing the supply closet at work or alphabetizing the books in your shared living space or carefully peeling an orange in one continuous spiral while listening to someone else's problems with a focus that made you pause mid-sentence. You noticed because it was precise, because it was unnecessary, because no one their age was supposed to care that much about the correct order of things or the correct way to hold space for another person's chaos. You noticed because they reminded you of yourself, the version of yourself that existed before you learned that precision was annoying, that caring too much was a liability, that the world rewarded cool detachment more generously than it rewarded thoroughness. And in that moment of recognition, something in your chest shifted. Not a romantic shift, not yet. More like the click of a lock finding the correct combination for the first time in years. You did not know what door it opened. You still do not, but you heard the sound, and you have been pretending you did not ever since. They are younger. Let us establish this without the coy language of euphemism. Not illegally young, not scandalously young, but young enough that their references do not always land in your airspace. Young enough that they had to look up the band on your t-shirt. Young enough that their knees do not yet make a sound when they stand up, that their metabolism still processes regret as quickly as carbohydrates, that their concept of a long time is measured in semesters rather than decades. They are young enough to still believe that showing up is enough, that consistency is a given rather than a superpower, that when someone says they will be there, they actually will. And this belief, this outrageous, offensive, gorgeous belief, is the exact thing that makes them dangerous to your equilibrium. Because you have been waiting for the other shoe to drop. You have been waiting for the moment when their youth reveals itself as the liability you have been assuming it is. The moment when they get bored or scared or overwhelmed by the complexity of your life, or simply seduced by the infinite scroll of options that their generation treats as a birthright. You have been waiting for them to prove you right, and they have been refusing with a stubbornness that is starting to look like integrity. They see you. This is the part that keeps you awake, not the attraction. Attraction is common. Attraction is the small change of human interaction, jingling in everyone's pockets. But being seen is rare, and this young person, this supposedly naive, unseasoned, not yet broken person, sees you with a clarity that makes your older, more experienced friends look like they have been viewing you through frosted glass. They see the way your jaw tightens when you are trying not to care. They see the way you deflect praise by immediately pointing out 3 flaws in your own performance. They see the way you organize other people's lives because your own feels too chaotic to touch. The way you arrive early to everything because lateness feels like a moral failing. The way you carry snacks and tissues and backup phone chargers for people who never asked you to be their mother. They see it all, and instead of finding it exhausting, they find it heartbreaking. Not in a condescending way, in a way that makes them want to build a structure around you so solid that you finally stop bracing for collapse. They have been showing you what they want through action because they seem to understand with an instinct that bypasses their years that your love language is not words, it is evidence, it is documentation, it is the slow accumulation of proof that a person means what they say. They remember your coffee order after hearing it once. Not because they have a good memory, though they do, but because they treated the information as sacred. They notice that you do not like your eggs runny. They notice that you prefer the window seat on the left side of the cafe because the light hits your reading at a specific angle. They notice that you hum when you are concentrating, a sound so quiet that most people filter it out as background noise, but they heard it and they cataloged it. And now when you hum, they know to bring you water before you ask because your throat gets dry when you focus. This is not the behavior of someone who is playing at commitment. This is the behavior of someone who is already committed and is simply waiting for you to notice that the foundation has been poured. But you are resisting. Of course you are. You are a Virgo. Resistance is your native tongue. You have been translating their behavior into every language you know, looking for the error. You have told yourself that they are infatuated with the idea of you, not the reality, that they have cast you in the role of the wise, stable, slightly mysterious older person who will give their life direction and meaning, and that once the script requires you to be human, to be messy, to be uncertain, to need them more than they need you, the fantasy will dissolve. You have told yourself that their generation does not understand permanence, that they have been raised on the economics of swiping and replacing, that their concept of commitment is theoretical, something they have read about in books but never had to practice through a recession, through an illness, through the slow Tuesday nights where love is not a feeling but a decision made with gritted teeth and a grocery list. You have built a case against them so thorough it would hold up in court. And the only problem with your case is that the defendant keeps refusing to cooperate. They want to meet your friends, not in the performative way where they show up once and spend the evening checking their phone. They want to know your friends. They want to understand the map of your social ecosystem because they understand with a wisdom that belies their age that loving you means loving the village it took to build you. They ask about your sister's surgery. They remember the name of your coworker's dog. They send you articles about the specific obscure topic you mentioned in passing 3 weeks ago. Not because they are trying to score points, but because they genuinely became interested in the thing that interests you. They have started using your slang, not in a mocking way, but in the way that people who are folding themselves into another person's life naturally adopt the local dialect. They are learning you. They are studying you with the dedication of a graduate student who has found the subject that will define their career. And the thesis they are writing, page by page, day by day, is titled, How to Love You Properly. You keep waiting for the immaturity to reveal itself, and it does sometimes. They are young. They still think staying up until 3 a.m. is a personality trait. They still have not learned that expensive does not always mean better, that sometimes the cheap wine and the expensive wine taste identical when you are laughing hard enough. They still get excited about things you have learned to take for granted, and their excitement is so unguarded, so unfiltered, so completely devoid of the performative jadedness that infects people your age, that you find yourself catching it like a cold. You find yourself smiling at a sunset you would have ignored. You find yourself watching a movie you would have dismissed just to see their face when the plot twists. You find yourself against every protocol you have established for your own emotional safety, having fun, real fun, the kind that does not require alcohol or irony or a scheduled end time, the kind that feels like being young again, except this time you have enough sense to know how rare it is. They asked you about your ex, not in the jealous way, in the way that someone asks about a previous address because they are planning to move in and they want to know why the last tenant left. You gave them the sanitized version, the version where you were both at fault, where timing was the real villain, where you grew apart with the mutual respect of two trees diverging. You did not tell them about the nights you spent on the bathroom floor. You did not tell them about the specific cellular way your trust had been dismantled brick by brick until you no longer believed that anyone who claimed to want permanence was telling the truth. But they knew because when you finished speaking, they did not offer solutions. They did not tell you that your ex was an idiot or that you deserved better or any of the other platitudes that people deploy when they do not know what else to say. They simply moved closer. They put their head on your shoulder. They let the silence hold you both. And in that silence, you felt something you had not felt in years. The sensation of being held without being asked to perform gratitude for the holding. That was the moment, if you are honest with yourself, that was the moment you knew. The moment when their youth stopped looking like a liability and started looking like a gift. Because someone your own age, someone with your own mileage, would have met your pain with their own pain, would have turned the conversation into a competition of scars, would have tried to fix you or advise you or distance themselves from the messiness of your history. But this person, this young person who supposedly does not know what commitment costs, simply stayed. They stayed in the discomfort without making it about them. They offered their presence as a resource, not as a transaction. And that, you are slowly realizing, is not naivety. That is emotional courage of a kind you have rarely encountered, regardless of age. They have a plan. You can see it in the way they talk about the future, not in the grandiose, abstract way of youth where everything is someday and one day and when we're older, in the specific, grounded way that makes your Virgo heart feel like it can finally exhale. They mentioned the concert in March as if you will obviously be there together. They talk about their lease renewal in terms of our space, not my space. They have started leaving things at your place, not accidentally, strategically. A toothbrush, a favorite book, a hoodie that smells like them, placed on the back of your chair with the casual confidence of someone who knows they are not a guest anymore. They are colonizing your life with the gentle, inexorable patience of a tide, and you are discovering that you do not mind the water, you do not mind it at all, but the fear is still there. It wakes you up at 4 in the morning with its hands around your throat. What if they change? What if this is just a phase, a rebellion against their own upbringing, a dalliance with someone older that they will outgrow the moment they realize how much life they still have to live without you? What if you are the training wheels, the practice round, the person who teaches them what they want so that they can eventually go find it in someone their own age? What if you invest everything? What if you let yourself believe? What if you drop the armor that has kept you safe for so long, and they wake up one morning and look at you with the blank confusion of someone who has outgrown their favorite childhood toy? These fears are not irrational. They are the earned wisdom of someone who has been left before. But I need you to look at the evidence. Look at the way they show up, not the words. The words are easy. Anyone can say, I want commitment. Anyone can write it in a card or text it at 2 in the morning or whisper it in the dark when the hormones are doing the negotiating. Look at the action. Look at the way they have been consistently, relentlessly, boringly present. Boring is the highest compliment. Boring means they are not performing. Boring means they are not trying to impress you with grand gestures that leave no trace. Boring means they are doing the work of building a life with you, one ordinary Tuesday at a time. They are doing the dishes without being asked. They are making the doctor's appointment when you are too overwhelmed to make it yourself. They are sitting with you in the silence of a bad day without needing to fill it with chatter. This is not the behavior of someone who is playing at love. This is the behavior of someone who has already moved in spiritually, if not yet physically, and is waiting for you to notice that the closet is full and the bed is warm. They want to introduce you to their family. This terrifies you more than almost anything else because their family will see the age gap. Their family will ask questions. Their family will wonder what you want with their child, their sibling, their fresh-faced relative who still has so much life ahead of them. And you will have to stand in that scrutiny and know that you cannot defend yourself with your resume, with your maturity, with your careful plans. You will have to stand there and simply be the person who loves their young person and hope that love is visible enough to survive the skepticism. But here is what you do not yet know. Their family already knows about you. They have been told in detail, with enthusiasm that apparently made their mother cry, though they will not tell you whether those were happy tears or worried tears until much later. They have been defending you to their family already. They have been laying the groundwork, preparing the soil, making sure that when you finally arrive, you are not a stranger but a presence, that has been anticipated. They are not dragging you into their life unprepared. They are building you a door. You keep looking for the red flags, and when you cannot find them, you manufacture them. They were late once, and you turned it into a prophecy. They forgot a minor detail, and you treated it as evidence of their fundamental unsuitability. They expressed uncertainty about a long-term plan, and you translated that uncertainty into the inevitable precursor of abandonment. You are so good at this. You are so good at finding the flaw that proves your theory, at spotting the crack that justifies your retreat. But the cracks are not there. The foundation is solid. And the only structural instability in this entire situation is your own terror of being happy. Because that is what this is, Virgo. That is the real secret confession that you are avoiding. It is not that they are too young. It is not that the age gap is insurmountable. It is not that commitment is impossible. It is that you are afraid you do not deserve the kind of love that shows up early, stays late, and does not keep score. You are afraid that if you let yourself have this, the universe will notice that you are too happy and will find a way to correct the imbalance. You have been living in a state of mild deprivation for so long that abundance feels like a trap. You do not trust ease. You trust struggle. You trust the relationships that require you to work until your hands bleed. Because if you are working that hard, at least you know you are earning your place. But this person, this young, ridiculous, magnificent person, is offering you a love that does not require you to earn it. They are offering you a seat at a table that is already set, and you are standing in the doorway, insisting that you need to wash the dishes first. They fell for you because of your competence. That is what they will tell you when they finally say it outright. They fell for you because you make the world make sense. Because when they are spinning, you are the fixed point. Because your advice is never vague, your comfort is never performative, your loyalty is never conditional on their good behavior. They fell for you because you are the first person who made them feel like adulthood might actually be survivable, not because you promised to take care of them, but because you showed them how to take care of themselves with the same precision you apply to everything. They do not want you to be their parent. They do not want you to be their teacher. They want you to be their partner. And they are young enough to still believe that partnership means equality, even when the years between you are not equal. They believe, with the ferocity of someone who has not yet been disillusioned, that love is not a ledger, that you do not owe them your experience any more than they owe you their optimism, that the two currencies can be exchanged at a rate of 1-to-1, and both of you will be richer for it. They want a committed relationship. Let me say that again, because I know your brain is trying to soften the edges of it, trying to translate it into something less binding, less permanent, less likely to require you to rearrange the furniture of your entire existence. They want commitment. They want the contract. They want the promise. They want to wake up every morning and choose you, not because they have to, but because the choosing has become as automatic and necessary as breathing. They want to fight with you and know that the fight is not the end. They want to bore you with the details of their day and know that your boredom is a form of intimacy. They want to grow old with you, which is hilarious given their age, but they mean it. They mean it with the gravity of someone who has looked at the entirety of their future and realized that every version of it that does not include you feels like a draft, a sketch, a rehearsal for a play that never opens. And they know you are scared. They are not blind. They see the way you hesitate before reaching for their hand in public. They see the way you deflect conversations about the future with humor or logistics or sudden urgent needs to reorganize your sock drawer. They see the fear and they are not running from it. They are sitting with it. They are learning the shape of your fear the way they learned the shape of your coffee order, with patience and attention and the quiet determination to understand rather than fix. They are not trying to talk you out of your doubt. They are simply proving day after day that the doubt is wrong, that their youth is not a countdown timer, that their heart is not a rental property, that when they say forever, they mean the version of forever that starts now and continues through every ordinary, difficult, beautiful day that follows. You are going to have to make a decision. Not tonight, not in the dramatic, cinematic way where the music swells and the camera spins, but soon, in the quiet moment after they fall asleep with their head on your chest, in the morning when they bring you coffee exactly the way you like it, in the middle of a conversation where you realize that you have stopped calculating the risk and have simply started enjoying the presence. You are going to have to decide whether you are willing to be loved without reservation by someone who has not yet learned that reservation is the default setting of adulthood. You are going to have to decide whether your fear of being left is stronger than your fear of being held. You are going to have to decide whether you can trust the evidence of your own eyes, which have been showing you with increasing clarity that this person is not going anywhere. They are falling hard. That is not a figure of speech. That is a physical reality you can observe if you stop looking away. Watch the way their face changes when you walk into a room. Watch the way they save stories throughout the day, specifically to tell you hoarding anecdotes like a squirrel hoarding nuts for winter. Watch the way they touch you, not with the tentative, exploratory touch of someone who is still deciding if they like the texture, but with the proprietary, reverent touch of someone who has already decided that this skin is home. They are falling and they are not trying to catch themselves. They are not reaching for branches or digging in their heels. They are letting the fall happen because they have looked down and realized that the ground is not coming. There is only you, and you are enough. The commitment they want is not a cage. I know that is what your fear whispers in the dark. That commitment means capture. That love means loss of autonomy. That partnership means slowly dissolving into a unit that no longer has room for your individual edges. But they do not want to smooth your edges. They fell in love with the edges. They want the sharpness of your observations, the exactness of your standards, the way you cannot let anything be good enough when it could be better. They want to build a life that has compartments for both of you, labeled and organized and precisely calibrated to meet both of your needs. They are not asking you to become smaller. They are asking you to become theirs while remaining completely, defiantly yourself. And that, you are slowly realizing, is the most terrifying request of all, because it means you cannot hide behind sacrifice. You cannot martyr yourself into worthiness. You have to show up as you are, with your age and your scars and your insistence on doing everything correctly, and trust that this is the person they want. Not a diminished version, not a managed version. You, they have already committed. That is the truth you are dancing around. The commitment is not coming. It is here. It has been here since the moment they decided that your happiness was their business. Since the moment they started making plans that included you without asking for a deposit of trust first. Since the moment they looked at you, really looked at you, and saw not the older person, not the more experienced person, not the person who should know better, but simply the person they love. They are already in, they are already building, they are already choosing you every single day with a consistency that makes your older, more cynical attachments look like ghost stories. The only person who has not committed yet is you. And I am not going to tell you that commitment is easy. I am not going to promise you that the age gap will never matter, that their family will embrace you without question, that your friends will not make jokes that land like small cuts, that the future will unfold without complication. There will be complications. There will be moments when you feel ancient and they feel young, when your references miss by a decade, when their energy exhausts you or your caution bores them. There will be moments when you wonder if you are being fair to them, if you are allowing them enough room to grow, if you are accidentally colonizing their youth with your own accumulated weight. These moments will require conversation. They will require the exacting, uncomfortable, thoroughly Virgo work of articulating needs and negotiating boundaries and checking in with a regularity that less careful people would find exhausting. But you are not less careful people. You are Virgo. You were built for this work. And the person waiting for you on the other side of your fear is willing to do it with you. They want to give you their youth, not in the transactional sense, not as a gift you are meant to feel guilty for receiving, but as an offering. They want to lend you their optimism, their resilience, their still unbroken belief that the world is fundamentally good and that love is fundamentally permanent. They want to borrow your wisdom, your stability, your hard-won knowledge of how to survive the days when the world proves otherwise. They want to meet in the middle and build a third thing that is neither your past nor their future, but a shared presence so solid that both of you can finally stop bracing for impact. The coffee is on the table. It is still hot. They made it exactly the way you like it, with the precise amount of milk and the specific number of sugars, and they did not make one for themselves because they know you do not like to drink alone. They are sitting across from you, or next to you, or in the other room folding laundry while you read this, and they are waiting, not with impatience, not with ultimatums, but with the steady, radiant certainty of someone who has already decided that you are worth waiting for, that you are worth the work, that you are worth the commitment they are offering without reservation or escape clauses. You can say yes. You can say yes with your whole heart, with your full attention, with the terrifying vulnerability of someone who has finally decided that the risk of being held is preferable to the safety of being alone. You can say yes and mean it. You can say yes and let them in, all the way in, past the locks and the ledgers and the careful calculations that have kept you safe but have also kept you separate. You can say yes and discover that commitment, real commitment, does not feel like a cage. It feels like a door opening onto a room you did not know existed, a room that is exactly the right temperature, with exactly the right light, and a place for everything you have been carrying, including the parts you thought no one would ever want to hold. Or you can say no. You can say no and watch them leave, not dramatically, not destructively, but slowly, with the heartbreaking dignity of someone who knows their own worth and will not beg for a seat at a table where they are treated as temporary. You can say no and return to your life, your tidy, controlled, perfectly organized life, and you can spend the next several years wondering what would have happened if you had been brave enough to believe that someone could want you permanently, completely, without reservation. You can say no, but You should know that no is the only choice that guarantees the loneliness you are trying to protect yourself from. They are young, they are falling, they want you. Not a version of you, not an idea of you. You, with your age and your anxiety and your insistence on doing everything correctly. They want the commitment you think you are too damaged to offer. They want the future you think you are too old to deserve. They want to build a life with you, brick by careful brick, in the full light of day, with witnesses. Pick up the coffee, it is getting cold, and they are still sitting there, looking at you with eyes that have not yet learned to look away from the things they love.